Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I am here, as always, with my good friend, Dan Wiseman. Dan, how you doing, bro?
I'm not bad, mate. Not bad at all. How are you?
Mate, I'm good. I'm tired, but, it's transfer season and we've got to be here for the Villa Filler faithful. That's just how it works.
Indeed.
And especially when a name gets bandied about that even we don't know, we kind of have to, we have to show our faces here, Dan. Otherwise, we are frauds, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, indeed, mate. It's not often we get to delve into the players of HNK Goretzka, but here we are.
That's it, man. That's it. But before we do, we have a word from today's video sponsor for, I think this is the last time for a while, so that may be a good thing for you guys in the comments. But yeah, here's a word from our sponsors. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you guys.
Do,
it's One Football. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that One Football using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. So guys, if you haven't checked out One Football, please, it really helps Dan and I out. For one last time, we could just both implore you to click the link, download the app. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. It's the perfect place to keep updated with football, Villa, any other teams that you may follow on the continent or out abroad. Obviously, I mean, Dan, that kind of leads us nicely into our first little update that I think we're going to do. Just generally, there's quite a few things that have been going on. Again, they're not really worth a whole Villa Filler episode, but there's been a fair bit of football today, Dan, and there's been a fair few Villa players in and amongst the goals. Keenan Van Nistelrooy comes off the bench and scores for Nottingham Forest. They're making quite a good push for promotion, mate, aren't they? Some much needed momentum for both them and Keenan. I believe it's a second goal for Forest, and when I've watched Forest and when I've watched Keenan, I'm not surprised with anything that I've seen. He is performing to the level that we have seen now for quite some time at Villa. But I think, unfortunately for Keenan, the lack of goals masquerades the technical ability that, like you and I, Dan, I know both genuinely believe that Keenan has. And I think just playing regularly and having a few goals now for Forest has given him so much confidence, hasn't it, mate?
Yeah. It's good to see, man. It's good to see. It feels like it's been too long that we've been, Keenan has always felt like he would be brilliant for the team that fit his system. And that championship loan has been a long time coming. I think it's good that it's finally happened. I think it's good that he's gone to a side like Forest. Steve Cooper's done a brilliant job there. What a job he's done since he's come in. He's turned that ship around, to say the least. They've been one of the informed teams in the country pretty much ever since he signed on the dotted line. And I think it's good that Keenan's gone there to a club where he's going to get regular minutes, and he's also going to be relied upon, I think, because obviously, another Villa man, Lewis Graben, the goal scoring responsibilities fall on his shoulders mostly, but Keelan's gone there, and I think he's taken a bit of that responsibility off in a division to which I think ultimately is where he's very suited and very effective, because as you said, mate, he's got a skill set which really makes him suitable for those more physical matchups, which he'll get more often than not in the Championship. And the only thing that's ever been lacking with Keenan is the goals. And I think, as with any striker, that can often be a confidence thing. I think now he's got a couple under his belt, I think he'll make a push to to get up towards double figures before the season's done.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I think what I found really interesting listening to that Emi Martinez interview after he signed the contract the other day was when he was just chatting through his goals, like ahead of the season with what he sets with Cutler. And it started when he first came in at 7 clean sheets, and then it became 14, and now it's 20. And I think that goal setting is really important. I think not just in football but in life. I think if you can sort of visualize what you want to achieve, I think that then once you've kind of put that out into the world, as long as what you are doing, you know, whatever that may be, whether it is keeping clean sheets, scoring goals, waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know, whatever it is, I feel like it's important that if you put it out there and you work hard, that you deserve the rewards of the effort that you're putting in. And listen, I know Keenan, like, you know, we joke, this is the Keenan Filler podcast. We absolutely love Keenan, the two of us. We aren't completely deluded. We know that there is a very limited player in there. But my God, Keenan Van Nistelrooy scoring, it just gets me so gassed, man. But as well, like, it was something that I was thinking of earlier, and I think it's something that often gets forgotten about, because Keenan, you know, was brought into the under 23 St Biggleswade as this winger, which again shouldn't really come as much of a surprise as to the technical ability that this man is actually showing on the ball. He is very slick. Like, he may not have a brilliant first touch, but when he has the ball under his control, defenders, first of all, are going to struggle to get the ball off him because of his stature. But second of all, he has actually got like deceivingly quick feet. But I think as a footballer, and like what Keenan's role to do is to obviously, as a striker, is to score goals, to bring players into the game and stuff like that. But Aston Villa as a football club are wholly responsible for the development of this lad's career. When you go out of your way to sign him from the non-league, to pluck him out and say, listen, you know, we rate you, we want you to come and join us at our football club, then the club has a responsibility to develop this player. And whether he's good enough or not for the first team, this loan is long overdue. And I think, you know, it's kind of easy for us who aren't there and in the moment to just sit here and go, well, whoever isn't good enough, let's get rid of them. But, you know, ultimately as a football club, mate, I believe that we have a duty to improve every single player who steps foot through Bodymoor Heath every day. And I would like to think as well that the you know, that's a two-way street. You know, the club will do as much for the players, and the players also have to kind of reciprocate that and put the same amount of effort and application in. And Keenan is one who I don't think anyone can ever criticize. We're talking about Keenan for way too long, but Keenan's someone I don't think anyone can criticize the application for. I think there are some fair criticisms, perhaps, of the product that you get with Keenan. But I'm just really happy because, you know, I remember him coming on and scoring that winner at Barnsley away and just being, I don't want to say blown away because that is quite hyperbolic, but just really impressed by the maturity and the way he led the line. And sure, Keenan Davis probably isn't going to become a Premier League striker, but I am, like, on a personal level, I'm so happy because I just got a lot of time for the guy. I think he's got a future at the very least at a top half championship club, and is often just a little bit disrespected by people. And, like, you know, I've been called deluded so many times for, like, you know, the Keenan propaganda, but, like, you know, this is someone who I like. I'm gonna rep him. I'm gonna big him up. I'm gonna be excited when he scores. And I think a few people are, like, you know, they're kind of, I don't want to say seeing the light, because let's be honest, scoring 2 goals for Nottingham Forest does not mean you are, you know, the best thing since sliced bread and you're going to supersede Danny Ings or Ollie Watkins. But, you know, like, I'm seeing more people happy for him. And, like, on a personal level, like, that makes me really happy, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. And I think, you know, it was never, you know, his lack of form in front of goal was never for the want of trying. You know, you always felt like the effort was there. It was just not someone that ultimately just managed to find that finishing touch in front of goal, which is incredibly hard. But, you know, on a very similar note, mate, another loanee in the goals, who we've hit pretty hard on this podcast. We've had this man's back for the longest time. Wesley, obviously the loan back to Belgium didn't really work out, and he's back now in Brazil, and he's just balling out, man. He had a fantastic game the other day for Internacional. He got a goal. He got a really nice back heel assist as well. So he's starting to find his mojo again, and that is seriously good to see, because it never really felt Like we saw the best of Wesley. Obviously, that injury came in, and we all know that what that did to him. I think it always felt like when we signed Wesley, I thought that we were trying to get as close as we could to Tammy Abraham in terms of profile. But when you signed Ollie Watkins and you saw what he could do, it always felt like that was the kind of striker that Dean was after. And whenever you saw Wesley, it sort of felt like you felt a bit sorry for him because he just didn't, it didn't really work. And it always felt like when you saw Ollie Watkins, like, oh, okay, this is the striker that we need. This is the profile of player. And Wesley was the complete opposite to that. And he scored on his debut, which is just brilliant. It was a penalty, and I just wish this man all the best in Brazil. I really hope it works out for him. Obviously, he was flirting in and out with the Seleção, with the international team. And I really hope this comes to some good things because he's got 12 months there, so he'll be there until next January. And I hope just in that time, I don't think that it'll ever work out at Villa for Wesley. I think there will be a permanent move at the end of it. But wherever it does, I'll be following him with a keen eye because he deserves the best.
He does, man, and like that's a Premier League career robbed by Ben Mee. Like it really is. I think people will still argue whether it was a fair tackle or not. As far as I'm concerned, with someone like me who has a history of this, he knew exactly what he was doing, and you can say it's a horrible accident or whatever. I can't really be asked for that debate. Wesley was immense that game as well. He was honestly like he was. I felt like that was when the penny dropped for Wes. He knew exactly what he had to do. We were playing that 3-4-3 system with Grealish and I think Trez maybe. Was on the wing with him. I can't remember who was on that right-hand side, but it felt like we found a way of getting the most out of him. Goal, I think it was 2 goals, maybe 2 goals or 1 goal and an assist. But no, that made the trip up to Turf Moor on New Year's Day for 12 o'clock totally worth it because I think I didn't sleep that night. I worked New Year's Eve. I finished work at like 5:30. I got home, got showered, had to drive to Villa Park to get on the coach. And all I wanted to see was a Wesley masterclass, and that's what I saw. But yeah, sadly, it doesn't look like he'll have a Premier League career. It doesn't look like he'll have a career at Villa, which is a shame. But if we can make a bit of money there, I know he's our record signing, 22 mil. If you can kind of recoup any of that, I think that's really good business. But again, just to echo your sentiments, mate, wherever Wes goes, we'll be following. There'll be like semi-regular Wesley filler updates in the podcast. They'll have to be because we love this man and he deserves the best. He really does. But that another player who is seemingly on the fringes of a loan to Besiktas Baskini, I think that's how you pronounce it. I may have absolutely butchered that, so apologies to any Turkish listeners. Trezeguet at the back stick, finally scoring for Egypt after a woeful game the other day against the Ivory Coast. He could have had about 6 if he was in his relegation fighting form. But it was a lovely finish from Trez today, wasn't it, mate? Nice little assist from Mo Salah as well. Just when, he does to come inside, drops the shoulder once and twice. You think he's going to shoot, but he picks out Trez at the back stick. And it was just nice to see, man. Again, another player has little to no future at Aston Villa. I think it's fair to say. But, if he can find his feet back in Turkey, if he can get a few goals, on this loan spell, and again, we can recoup a bit of a fee for this, then, happy days. He's contributed more than I think we probably could have imagined when he signed. He was instrumental in keeping us in the division. He really did come up clutch for about 4 or 5 games when we were, the backs were really up against the wall. And a lot of people, there are mad misconceptions that Grealish kept Villa up, that of course Hawkeye kept Villa up. All these nonsense things. Without Trez's goals against Arsenal, Watford, Palace, Villa are not a Premier League side. So value for money for sure has been achieved out of Trezeguet, really, hasn't it, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like, as soon as Anwar goes, then it felt like Trezeguet would go because Anwar was definitely higher up the pecking order than Trezeguet. It's hard to really have too much to say on this one. The only thing that surprises me about all of this, mate, is that all of these deals are loans.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is the only surprising things, because we're talking about all of these players saying it's a shame because they'll never have a future at Villa, yet they will be all returning to the club at some point, even if it is only momentarily as they sign permanent deals. But all of these guys are scheduled to come back, so it's slightly surprising because never in the future do I imagine using the likes of Trezeguet or Keenan or Wesley, or as Matt Targett is the next one, because we've all leveled up in those positions, and so it doesn't seem that there are futures for any of those players. But yet all of them are temporary deals. And I know that, with these players like Trezeguet, who's had an injury, hasn't played for a while, Keenan the same, lack of game time, Wesley as well, it's hard to convince clubs to buy permanently when there is a little bit of risk associated to the deal. But, with Target, as we'll come on to now, mate, that surprises me because this is a guy that has played the majority of the season. Newcastle will know exactly what they're getting. For Villa, he's not going to push Luca Dean out that side anytime soon. We need the backup in that position. So loaning him temporarily without getting any value of it strikes me as a bit odd, but it seems like he doesn't want to sit around and play second fiddle, which I completely respect. But yeah, the temporary nature of it just strikes me as being a bit odd.
Yeah, I think is it a try before you buy? I mean, they're paying the best part of like 35 to 40 million for Bruno Guimaraes. They've signed, they've spent 25 million on Chris Wood. I think if Newcastle do go down, which is still a legitimate possibility, Guimaraes has he has a sell on. You can easily make your money back and more on a player that good. Chris Wood screams, let's prepare for life in the Championship. But I don't really think. I mean, realistically, Villa are probably going to want to at least double their money on Matt Targett. I think there are some obvious flaws in his game, but established Premier League fullback, knows the division, may not be always capable of performing 100%. However, he's English. There's going to be a premium to that. I don't see Villa selling Targett for anything less than £25 million. That's a bit of a gamble for Newcastle right now. I think they have spent well. I would credit, again, the signing of Guimaraes. I think Wood is a smart signing, but I mean, it has just given Burnley the money to go and get Wout Weghorst, which I think is like the perfect replacement for Chris Wood. Like, it is the most Burnley signing, but Weghorst has a bit of class about him. So I think, Burnley are potentially getting a very good striker in that. So that the whole sort of weaken a fellow relegation candidate by taking their best striker may backfire if Weghorst starts scoring some goals for Burnley and they're like 10 games in hand. But no, it's an interesting one, mate. It is, because if they stay up, if he impresses, I think maybe there is a view to buy. And as we mentioned the other day, Ben Krisen signed a pro contract. Maybe Stevie rates Krisen as being good enough to be the backup. I think, certainly if we're looking at Kane Kessler on the bench, then Krisen is probably in within a shout of that as well. But ultimately as well, I don't think Matt Targett can go and do it at Newcastle. I think he's a serious confidence player. And I think if you are, as St. Maximan has shown at Newcastle, if you've got something about you, these lads will back you to the hill. But the Geordies aren't going to take any of this Matt Targett feigning an injury and going down when he's kind of had enough. That isn't going to fly up there. So I don't really know personally if he has, I don't want to say the bottle. I just don't know if he has it in him to play for Newcastle. I think you have to be a certain type of player and person to be successful at that football. You don't have to be a good footballer to have a great time at Newcastle. And that isn't, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. I just think that there is an underrated mental aspect of the game, which I think you really need if you're going to play for Newcastle. And I don't think Matt Targett has it. But that's going to be one to keep an eye out on, Dan. It is. And, we've got a few people. I think Alex Crook from TalkSport was saying that keep an eye on Douglas Luiz on deadline day. I mean, like, really? we haven't heard much about this contract negotiation, which has allegedly started. You know, these things can take a while. Like, look at Mo Salah. They entered talks with him 2 months ago and nothing has been resolved. I don't think, saying that, the negotiations will be anywhere near as complicated with Douglas Luiz. However, I think the DM, you know, are Villa looking for a DM, Dan? I think is the question, first of all. I think, you know, we have said we feel like we need one. We've also kind of countered that point with, well, you know, Stevie really likes Marv. I think if you don't like Marv, that's fine. But ultimately, I trust Stevie, and if he thinks that Marv can come back and operate in that spot fine, then I do really trust that. I'm starting to believe Villa aren't in the market for a DM, Dan. And I don't think people are ready to hear that.
Mate, I don't think they are, but not in January anyway. In the summer, I think we will. I think it's a position that we will naturally look to upgrade. I mean, it would be interesting to see when we got Marv back, sort of what he can get up to and everything like that, and what our plans for Luiz are, because he's not going to go anywhere on deadline day, man. He's far too important to what we're doing to let him go now. I'm hesitant to say. I mean, look, this episode, we're recording this at 11 o'clock at night, so this will probably go out on deadline day. So I may be like having to eat humble pie before this video is even uploaded. But I mean, Matty Targett to go on deadline day, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, look, Newcastle have got, you know, in that position, they've got Paul Dummett and Javier Manquillo. And look, don't get me wrong, that's not like crazy great options for the Premier League, but like, it's not. Like, those are two players. Manquillo has played a lot of football. Like, those are two players that, like, okay, like you're all right in that position. They desperately need goals, and so it's like that move for the left back. I'm like, especially when you know
signed yet as well.
Yeah, well, they've got Dan Burn as well, who can play fullback. They've just signed Kieran Trippier, who can play, as we know, on both sides of that defense. So it's like a loan move for another left back. I don't know. It just strikes me as being a bit odd. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. But yeah, I think that I don't think we'll see too much happen, you know, on deadline day. I certainly don't think we're going to make any signings. And if it is, mate, it's about time we actually got onto what we originally intended this episode to be on. Then apparently we're led to believe it's KRISTIJAN LOVRIC of HNK Gorica, who play in the sort of top division of the Croatian league. They're based in the town of Velika Gorica, which is just south of Zagreb. They're not a team I've actually come across before, which when you actually sent me a screenshot of this rumor, the first thing I replied back was like, this feels a bit more like what we've been discussing on Transfer Rumor Mills for the longest time, because now I'm in a pretty good position, mate, where unashamedly I come on a podcast. I don't have to do too much research because we know so much about Callum Chambers and Coutinho and Luca Dean. However, when we were in the early Championship days and the Premier League days, you know, up until sort of the start of last season, these were very much the sort of our meat and drink, mate. So it's good to be back out fishing in the Croatian divisions again.
I mean, it's saying something when you've just give us a whole ass geography lesson, Dan, in the intro. That's how you know we're straight in the barrel. As well, we can't go up another podcast without mentioning Dinamo Zagreb. It's a channel meme at this point. Hasn't played for them, could do potentially. It's been the first time in a long while where we've both had to kind of consult the YouTube highlights reel. Can't say that KRISTIJAN LOVRIC is a player who I am that well versed in, if at all. 26 years old, winger, seems to be right-footed. Assessing from what I'm seeing on the highlights reel, likes to come inside a lot. Sort of drop that shoulder, aiming for that top corner finesse shot that we all love so much. And yeah, I mean, I don't really understand this one, for being honest. You know, we're talking about a winger who can play on both sides, who's, you know, just scored to take their country to an international semi-final, going out on loan. And we still have a Bertie Traore as well, who I believe, you know, Burkina Faso are still in AFCON.
We could have that final. We could have that final.
Could have that final, which I think we're rooting for, really. it doesn't make a lot of sense. It does, like, I know we spoke about the profile of targets changing, going from that sort of younger, higher resale value model to the seasoned pros, the guys who know what it means to win. This guy's 26. Is there going to be much resale value there? I don't know. Are we looking like, is this more of like a sort of, we're shopping in the bargain bin? Are we on the reduced shelf at Tesco at like 10:30 at night, trying to find the nice cold cuts, which is like my favorite hobby, by the way. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really have too much to say here. And, throughout his career, this guy, for all the teams he's played for, both Lokomotiva and Gorisha, never finished below sixth. He finished sixth once. So is he a winner? I don't really know. Is he better than Trezeguet or Bertie? Or Anwar, even let's include Anwar? I'm going to say absolutely not. I think this is possibly one of the first times you'll ever hear Dan and I come on a podcast and both unequivocally agree and say, like, what are we doing? Like, this has to be a load of nonsense. Like, it absolutely does. And I feel, I'm sorry guys, because we're gonna have clickbaited you in on this one. The title will be something along the lines of, who is Kristijan Lovric? ? We're still asking that question to ourselves, really, aren't we? We're still trying to find the answer.
Yeah, basically. Is he's the thing is when you get these players, man, you're like, neither of us really don't we don't know who they are. You're sort of inclined a little bit to believe it because you're like, well, this is one hell of a rumor to make up otherwise. It's like, if you're going to make up on deadline day, like a rumor to sell papers, you're like, oh, Aston Villa to sign a winger that we're all very familiar with from inside the Premier League, like, Villa to sign like Nicola Pepe or someone like that, like someone that might be on their way out. But when they go for like a Kristijan Lovric, you sort of go, well, that's so niche that like you're sort of inclined to go, well, really? But there's two things that I can think has gone on with this rumor, mate. The first is that, to be fair to Kristijan, to give him his flowers, he's had a decent season. The winger, he's racked up 15 goals and assists in 22 games, which is not bad. They seem very keen on him over in Croatia. And yeah, I mean, he actually was close to a move, it seems, to the British Isles in the summer and I think last January. Both Celtic and Rangers were rumoured to be sniffing around him. He actually followed Celtic on Instagram, which I've been reading, last July. And Celtic fans were all led to believe that he was signing for the club. That never actually ended up materialising, so he stayed there. And so, yeah, it seems that based on those, Stevie's knowledge of Scotland, maybe Rangers were sniffing around him, this has come about. The other reason why I think this might be a rumour is that Burnley were rumoured to be signing Orsic, who's the better known itch out of the two. But apparently that's not happening now. Apparently that deal is off. And so their second choice is Kristijan Lovric, who I can only assume the Croatian papers have got the claret and blue Premier League teams mixed up and have put Villa's name into that hat as well with Burnley. So yeah, it's a deal that I think, yeah, look, this guy's got like pretty, I was going to say OK numbers. They're pretty good. 15 goals and assists, 22 games. Not too bad. He scored 34 goals over the past 2 seasons. So he's a real goal-getting winger. But it seems a bit odd to me, as you say, mate. And I think there's a good chance we do see him coming into the Premier League and playing in claret and blue for the back end of this season. But I just don't think it will be with Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think them numbers are actually from last season. I think it looks like he has 7 goals so far this season.
Forgive me.
Which, there's nothing to scoff at. I don't think I'd score 7 goals in the Croatian league. But Dan, who does Orsic play for? My favourite team to name.
The one and only, yep. Dinamo Zagreb, mate.
Zagreb. A player who we covered in the transfer room last January as well, actually.
Yep.
£11 million move falling through. That's an interesting one. But yeah, I don't think this is it. And of course, if he signs, we'll get behind him, as we do with everyone. But I don't think there's a lot in this one. So I'm sorry for letting you guys down. I'm sorry for clickbaiting you. We had one more video that we were obliged to have an ad for by the end of the month, if we're being totally honest with you. So, you know, we're making sure we're getting paid. You guys seem to be loving the content, except for one guy. Now, before we end, Dan.
Oh, yes.
I feel the need to address
public
this.
address, mate.
Right?
Yeah, public
address. I
address.
feel the need. Right, let me get the notification up. Name and share. Darren, right, okay, first of all, he commented on the Jacob Ramsey analysis video podcast. Is this football content or fashions in caps, turned straight off? And that's what in caps as well. And I'm like, first of all, right, a podcast, like what we do, as much as it is about the content and what we are delivering to you guys, I would like to think at least you guys come back because you like me and Dan. Like, you like our rapport. You know, we've been mates for so long, and like I feel like that's evident on these videos. Like you know, people who we meet, like our mates, they all say like, you can like, it's, you know, you can tell it's a genuine friendship. You guys get along. It's not just a joke or this kind of stuff. Like, and as well, that actually, on a slight tangent, I saw someone in the Holt End and the other week. I wasn't just randomly in the Holt End. It was when we had a game, and he shouted, "Heart of the Holt." I didn't ask your name. I'm sorry. It kind of caught me off guard. And he asked where you were. He was like, "Where's your mate?" I was like, "Oh, he's in the Trinity." And he was like, "Oh, the posh seats." And I was like, "Yeah, here in the Heart of the Holt."
I'm glad you moved there, mate, because you were in the north and we were Heart of the Holt.
Yeah.
One of us in the north and one of us in Trinity, weren't we?
Absolute frauds. We were absolute frauds, mate. But back to my point. People, like, you listen to it like anything. You listen to it because, first of all, you gain something insightful out of it, and secondly, because, you know, like, I'd like to think you guys enjoy listening to Dan and I just talk. It not always just about football as well. Like, the live stream showed that the other day, didn't it? Which is where this comment came from. I wasn't going to mention this, Dan, but I replied to him and said, "Well, if you can't appreciate some fine Grogu garments, then this podcast isn't for you." This all basically came from, we went live the other night for Callum Chambers. I started talking about the book of Boba Fett, and we recorded straight after, and Dan, because he didn't fancy the live stream getting struck for him stripping, took his hoodie off and was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. Okay, if you guys don't know Grogu, he's the Baby Yoda thing from Star Wars.
Yeah, you've all seen it.
I hate to mansplain Star Wars, but like, I appreciate not a lot of people like there isn't that much crossover between Star Wars and football, surprisingly. I know, who'd have thought. But yeah, and Dan, he surprised me. He showed me his t-shirt, and anybody who knows me knows I adore Star Wars. So I was very glad to, you know, for Dan to show that and do a little spin, and, you know, we spent 20 seconds talking about it. And he's got Darren so rattled. Like, it's honestly in his head that he's turned it straight off, right? So obviously I've then replied to that, and he's replied to me 5 hours ago. I think you're right, because I prefer my vintage garms like Valentino or Goy Goy. I don't know who Goy Goy is. Maybe someone can educate me. Myself, dickhead. We can all name designers. Grogu isn't a designer. He's a fucking character from Star Wars, you absolute muppet. I'm sorry. What? That's just so weird. Like, again.
Oh, no, man.
Like, whatever's, like, Darren, like, I hope everything's
you okay,
all right,
bro?
Like, yeah, like, is the wife making you sleep on the sofa? Like, honestly, like, whatever's going on, I hope you're okay, man. We're going to talk about Star Wars as and when, because it's our.
I think this is a good opportunity, man, to, like, really a good barometer as to what people actually enjoy from this podcast. Because, mate, the one thing I think, you know, we talk a lot about Villa, and we always floated the idea of making this channel more of a, like, you know, we wanted to talk about European football a bit more, because obviously, you know, we are both football fans before Aston Villa fans, everyone, and so you know, we've always wanted to talk about more than the Villa. And I think that when we kept going off on that tangent, was desperately trying to stay discussing Callum Chambers. It was a great left, man. So I think, you know, it'd be good for people, you know, if people want more of this, we'd love to go live and just do, I don't want to say Q&As, man, because that makes me feel like we're proper, like,
big time. We're not.
Yeah, it's not. That's not what it is. But like, Matt, I love talking to you. We
engagement.
The reason why we do this channel, man, is because like we get that engagement in the comments and everything like that. And so I think, if you guys would just a sort of an open session with me and you, where we can people can put us things. We'll have little debates. We'd love to hear anything and everything in the comments and chat about it, mate. It'd be a right barrel of laughs. So yeah, I think this is probably a good chance to say, I mean, look, maybe you all agree with Darren and you and I have got it completely wrong, mate, and you would just like us to stick to talking about Aston Villa, which I'm absolutely fine to do. But yeah, this is a sort of a call to arms in the comment section to let us know exactly what you want out of this podcast, so that going forward in 2022 you and I can do the bits.
Yeah, man. Like, let us know as well. Like I kind of mentioned it at the end of the last video. We spoke about possibly going live for one of the international games. Argentina, Colombia is Tuesday evening. It's an 11:30 kickoff UK time. If you guys want us to go live for that, let us know. I'm working late that day, but I'll finish at 11, so we should be able to go live for kickoff. If that is again something you guys would like us to do a watch along, kind of talk about the game, and again just engage with you guys, because it's happened a few times now where we've had people like come up to us at Villa Park and say that they enjoy the podcast, and like it means the world, honestly. Like I think I may it kind of takes me back. Like I don't really know what to do or say, but like actually being able to see people who like listen to the podcast and enjoy it is like, that's mental, honestly. So yeah, like if you guys want us to do this watch along, let us know. If you've made it this far, also let us know. And why not, while you're at it, guys, let us know if you enjoyed the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I'm really interested, because it was essentially the Mandalorian season 3, which is another fine show. And yeah, just to end, Darren, Grogu, it's not a designer brand; it's a character from Star Wars. So if you left that, because he would have left that podcast not being educated on Jacob Ramsey. I hope he's listened to this one and we've at least taught him something about Star Wars. That's all I can ask. But that's probably a good place to end the podcast on, Dan, before I get even more triggered by thinking Grogu's a brand. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Please just download OneFootball. This is the last time I'm going to ask you for a while.
Yep, please, please.
Maybe.
On my knees.
Just click the link, download that thing, and please, we promise it helps us out in no end. So yeah, thank you guys. Up the Villa.